Hello! I hope you enjoy my new background. I decided to take the time to hang up everything. Nutella also took up her new residence, which is on top of my sewing machine, so you might see her. I have my Brobdingnagian carrot hung back up, my beautiful fashion plates, and Nutella is currently sitting in front of my knitting machine diagrams, but that's okay. I think she's a cuter and more interesting thing to look at anyway. After spending the last 2 weeks going into my sewing hole to finish the essentials portion of my summer wardrobe, I'm very excited that this week is going to go back to basically my roots, which is knitting, antique inspired knitting in this case. I have the pattern that I told you guys about, which is the Antiquity sweater from Fable Knitwear. She also has her own YouTube channel where she talks about the inspiration for her knits and her designs and everything, and I can highly recommend it. I also did her Rowena sweater twice already that you guys have seen previously. I love that. There is one slight change I'm going to make to this pattern for myself. I personally don't like long sleeves in the summertime, even if they're super lightweight. So I'm going to be making the sleeves shorter, though I haven't exactly decided how short yet. In terms of yarn, I chose a linen yarn from Knit Picks. I will leave the links down in the description if you also want to use a similar yarn. I have been itching to knit things, so I've just been ready to get back at some knitting projects. I started, I think, 3 or 4 knitting projects at the same time, but this time I will only be sharing the Antiquity sweater pattern with you. Let's go do some knitting. This top is knit from the bottom up, similar to the Rowena sweater that I did. It has a really lovely lace border at the bottom, but it does mean that it takes me a little bit longer to get started on this project because I have to pay a little bit more attention right in the beginning. Sorry, did I interrupt your sleep? I feel like I've said this more than once in the past, and the advice is to not knit at too late of an hour. It's past midnight, and I kept knitting, and I really shouldn't have. I messed up something on the main middle section of the lace here. I tried to unpick some of it to see if I could rework it. You can kind of see where I started to unpick some of it to see if I could work the rows back, but it is honestly, it's too far down where I made the mistake. It's like halfway down. So I think I'm just gonna have to undo all of that and reknit it. Do as I say, not as I do, because this is painful to sit here and unravel this. I am sitting here a while later, and honestly, undoing every stitch bit by bit is taking so long. And I have, like I said, I have about half of the work to undo. So I think my best bet is just, oh, this is gonna be hard. Is it too risky to do it this late at night? Here's what I'll do. I'll run a lifeline first, and then I'll drop them all off of my needles. I'll rip it all back, and then I'll put it back on the needles, and I will call it a night. All right, the lifeline is in. I ended up at 2 different heights, so I'm a little worried. Had me second guessing if this is really the right time for me to be unraveling some work, because I have to go down to at least here. I unraveled some above here, so this is basically all of today's work I have to undo. That's okay. All right, time to unravel. Stitches are off. Oh my gosh, I fixed it. It's now nearly 2 in the morning, and I am going to go to bed. I unraveled all of my work from today, but at least I can start tomorrow knowing that I won't have to work on a mistake. And now, the 2 of us can go to bed. Nutters, do you want to go to bed? Good night everyone. See you tomorrow. Alright, it's the next day. I am very glad I took the time to undo my mistakes yesterday because, I don't think I would have had the energy to do that today. I have been knitting some of my free time, and I made it past even where I was last night. So I have worked up even more of the pattern, and I have stayed within the correct bits of the pattern. Sorry, Nutella's chewing on her bone in the background. I'm just gonna continue working on the body of the pattern until I have another update for you all. Hi, Nutters. Oh, got caught up in my yarn. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Oh, I untangled little Miss Nutella from my yarn, but I wanted to check in. I fixed all the mistakes. I kept on knitting. I think I kept the pattern correct the whole way around. I know she's upset that I'm not giving her all the attention. I know, we'll go out and play in a minute, okay? Yeah, we'll go out and play. And I have finished 3 full repeats of I finished 3 full repeats of the pattern so far. I love how this looks. To me, it's almost like the lace is imitating insertion lace being added among like a larger lace pattern here, but it's all just done with knitting. I love it. So the pattern says to do this many repeats for a short / cropped top. Okay, yeah, that's a bit short. I personally have a very long torso, which means that I typically have to remember to lengthen anything that I make in the torso to make it fit me appropriately. Plus, I don't particularly love crop length tops or shirts or sweaters or anything like that. So I'm thinking, so this is, hold on, from where to where? From here to there. That's 1 repeat. So this is the length of about 1 repeat. So I'm gonna do 1 more. And then I will check back in and see if it is a length that I like. But so far, I'm loving the drape on this, how it flows, how it holds. Off to knit another repeat, and hopefully as few mistakes as possible this time. Right, Nutella? So I am back, trying to remember what we last talked about. I think it was about the fact that I was going to increase the length of my top a little bit more, and I just finished. So I have 4 full repeats, and now I am going to split everything off for the armholes, the front yoke, at the back. Time to get started on that. And time to remember, because now I'm going to be working it flat, so I just have to remember that the pattern, I feel like I just memorized how to knit the pattern for the lace, the center lace in the round, but now I'm going to be knitting it in flat knitting, which she really did well to lay out the instructions for, how it changes. I need to pay attention because I don't want to have to frog my work again and re-knit some sections. That was heartbreaking enough already the first time. Enough chatting. Let's get to knitting. So you can see here that I have finished knitting the straps on both the front and the back of my top, and it is now time to combine them. In the pattern, it does recommend a 3-needle bind off, but I instead decided to do a Kitchener stitch for more of a seamless join, and I think it'll look really nice once the straps are joined and I can try on my top for the first time. What usually makes me a little bit nervous about knitting sweaters from the bottom up is that I don't really get a very good feel for the fit, I think, until I am finished knitting the entire body portion. So this is the first time that I'm able to fully try on my sweater or blouse, and I absolutely love it. The only thing that is left at the moment are the sleeves and the collar around the neckline. I'm also really glad that I added 1 more repeat because even though I made it longer, it is still slightly cropped on me, just because, again, I have a very long torso. The pattern recommends a mohair yarn for the sleeves, but I hadn't purchased any to go with this because I was a little worried about using such a fuzzy yarn for a summer sweater. But I went through my stash and I realized that I had the perfect mohair yarn that would match color-wise, and I just couldn't resist adding that lofty, fuzzy, beautifully transparent and light and airy look to this sweater. I thought it would be the perfect way to kind of cap off this design, and I really like how Fable Knitwear designed it herself. So I switched to my smaller circular needles, picked up the stitches for the sleeves, and worked on those for a while. Ended up deciding to knit the majority of the sleeve out of my mohair yarn, which I really like the look of. It's so soft and sweet and puffy, and I really like that.
I'm not sure, I didn't try it with the linen, but I feel like because this yarn is so lightweight and has a little bit more structure to it because of the halo of the yarn, it allows that puff sleeve to stand up a little bit better when I wear it, which I really like. I am right now working on the other sleeve. When the other sleeve is finished, I need to do the collar, I guess, and then it's time to weave in all the ends after that. Yeah, let me work on the other sleeve now. So yesterday I finished adding the sleeves. The main part of the sleeve is mohair, and then the ribbing is back to the linen, like the instructions say, except it's just made short. The only thing I might do differently in the future, or if you decide to modify this with shorter arms, is to decrease under the underarm here to take away a little bit of this fabric, this excess, or maybe do short rows across the top to increase that length a little bit more in, comparison with the underarm length. Similarly to what I did for my combinations short sleeves. There's a little excess under here, but it's not so bad. But if I were to do it again, or if I would have any recommendations for anyone else, it's to do that. I also finished the collar and the mohair. I love this picot edge bind off. It's just so delicate and cute, and it's just like a breath of air, like a huff of air added to the to the details around the collar. All that's left is, you see all those ends? They all have to be woven in. Before I show you the finished product, I'm so happy. Looking at this makes me so happy. I'm so happy with it.
I haven't used a lot of linen in my knitting, and I find it a little bit slipperier than the wool that I usually knit with, so I made sure to really anchor down the ends when I was weaving them in. The nice thing about the mohair though is because it's nice and fuzzy, it sticks to itself much better, which I definitely found out when I had to unravel a few stitches when I made some mistakes on the sleeves. That was quite a pain. But once I finished weaving in all of my ends, it was time to try on my finished Antiquity blouse. If you like vintage and antique, fiber crafts, sewing, and anything generally related, please feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you all again really soon.